Hello dear friends. We wore out the fear of using it so much and threatening it. Our love broke from using it so much was a song composed by the Jerez-born composer Manuel Alejandro in 1985 for the album Paloma Brava by Rocío Jurado. Opinion piece. Impossible Armageddon. Risk of nuclear war. The Galactics wouldn't allow it. They have declared it many times. Nuclear war would be sheer madness. We have worn out our fear from using it so much. There can be no winners in a war. Armageddon would be a spiritual battle. The end of the world is not in the divine plan. Detonation is too far from free will. Destruction would be incompatible with Ascension. Galactics removed depleted uranium from the atmosphere. Will the nuclear threat be used to enact martial law? Uruguay to dethrone Chile as South America's highest GDP per capita by 2024. Let's start. We have been hearing for years that the Creator will not allow the destruction of this planet or the detonation of any atomic bomb. In fact, the powers have pushed the red button on more than one occasion, and it hasn't worked, because it was aborted. Humankind would have self-destructed many years ago without direct divine intervention, because the end of the world is not part of the divine plan. Proof of this is the number of times UFOs have been seen over nuclear silos that have stopped missile launches. However, the media is constantly trying to scare people, but we have worn out of fear by using it and threatening it. An example of this was Hal Turner's news item, in quotes. 2 planes loaded with Russian doomsday nukes are in the air from the nuclear arsenal. Posters all over Russia say, Alaska is ours. So Alaska could be detached, but it could be Scotland, since King Charles III declared war on Russia, or the headquarters of NATO. The targets are unknown, just hunches. The Russian government is telling people that the West is going to bomb Russia. To put the scare into the body, the Russian submarine Belgorod, which is the largest in the world, it is said to be hidden somewhere, loaded with nuclear missiles, but nobody knows where it is hidden, even though all the navies of the world are trying to locate it. They say it has a weapon capable of causing a tsunami like Fukushima and engulfing New York. The latest alarm has been raised by José Borrell, threatening to annihilate Russia. Juan 07 says this is getting more serious by the minute. Putin wants his country to prepare for a war that wouldn't be limited to Eastern Europe. Mike Adams writes that the world is now in a feedback loop of doom that ends with nuclear missiles flying and detonating over densely populated Western cities. The USA will oversee Russia's annual strategic nuclear exercise GROM, Pentagon Deputy Press Secretary Sabrina Singh said on Friday. NATO's Secretive Nuclear Planning Group met on Thursday as the military alliance pressed ahead with plans to hold a nuclear exercise next week, while concerns grew over Russian President Vladimir Putin's insistence that he will use any means necessary to defend Russian territory. Definition. Armageddon is the biblical term in Hebrew that appears in the book of Revelation. Although the term is of Christian origin, several religions and cultures use it to refer generally to the end of the world or the end of time through catastrophes. The word Armageddon is derived from a Hebrew expression meaning Mount Megiddo, which is located southwest of the Jezreel Valley, in what is known as the Fertile Crescent, northwest of the Dead Sea. This battle is located, chronologically speaking, before the millennium, since Satan is bound for 1,000 years, and then he will come out to deceive the nations, Gog and Magog, gathering a huge army that will confront Israel and besiege Jerusalem, but divine intervention will save his chosen people. In quotes. All churches of evangelical denominations such as Pentecostal, Methodist, Baptist, Presbyterian, Mennonite, etc., believe and interpret Armageddon as something literal and future, related to the end of the world, also known as the Great Tribulation of which Jesus spoke and of which Revelation speaks. In the Adamija community, Armageddon is seen as a spiritual battle or struggle in the present age between the forces of good and righteousness, purity and virtue, and those of evil. The final struggle between the two is presented as the satanic influence that is unleashed with the appearance of Gog and Magog. Satan gathers all his forces and uses all his methods to deceive people, thereby precipitating the introduction of an age of iniquity, promiscuity, atheism, and materialism. Sound familiar from the lake? Interpretation. Bert Armstrong presents a unique analysis of Scripture that says the book of Revelation, chapter 18, actually describes New York City as Babylon being destroyed in an hour. When Babylon falls, the financial backbone of the world is broken. Gold and silver take on unimaginable value virtually overnight. A massive chaos ensues due to the collapse of the currency. The film The Day After postulated a 1983 war between NATO and Warsaw Pact forces that quickly escalates into a full-scale nuclear exchange between the US and the Soviet Union. The action centered on the residents of Loring, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri, as well as several family farms located next to nuclear missile silos. The final scene fades to black. Professor Huxley calls over his makeshift radio. "Hello? Is anybody there? Is anybody there alive?" I was devastated after watching it back in the day. Guarantees. According to Steve Biko, outside forces around the planet today have told us that no nuclear weapons can be exploded. They will not allow it. They tell us that they will not allow nuclear weapons to explode. In a full-scale nuclear war were to start, if a full-scale nuclear war were to start, the Federation would step in and take the opportunity to show themselves as savers of planet Earth. That would be the moment of disclosure. Their very presence would be a showstopper, but for them to stop a nuclear war at the same time would be dazzling. However, the fact is that they have already stopped it. Nuclear bombs can no longer be exploded on Earth or in space. It was a nuclear explosion that persuaded some of our galactic neighbors to stop them. Salusa of Sirius says that although we have not been allowed to stop all wars, we have put an end to the use of nuclear devices to start a third world war. Salusa said that the Galactics have stopped the entire planet from being completely destroyed more than once. In quotes, "We have stopped the total destruction of Earth on several occasions since the end of your last World War, and we have managed to ensure that you are all here today to witness the end of the last click." The Pleiadians, through Wes Anak, tell us why, in quotes. "The elements of your star family have been very, very busy working on several different timelines to stop the chaotic and warlike actions that would have taken your collective into negative territory that you must not enter at this stage of the Ascension game. And they first realized it when your atomic bomb exploded in 1945 and millions of souls experienced a level of devastation and suffering the likes of which has never been experienced before. We all became aware when the atomic bomb was created and deployed, and since this happened, your star family has worked very hard to pull the plug on the nuclear weapons and various other weapons of war they intended to deploy against humankind. The Pleiadians report that they have prevented many nuclear detonations since the World War II. In quotes, we Pleiadians have helped deactivate nuclear warheads and other destructive weapons, the detonation of which is far outside the perimeters of humankind's free will, and we have stationed ourselves in your skies along with the Sirian and Andromedans to clean up and heal the bulk of radioactive contamination. Assuming radioactive contamination is what the Pleiadians are talking about, do we have an example of how the Galactics remove it? Yes. They removed depleted uranium from the atmosphere because it is a planet killer. If the Galactics had not neutralized the depleted uranium, this planet would have died, for it would have had no will to continue, said Archangel Michael, who provides a list of the types of operations they have stopped or moderated. In quotes, we have prevented nuclear devastation. We have prevented global disintegration. We have prevented wars and chaos. We have prevented tsunamis. We have prevented or softened earthquakes. We don't have to take their word for it. Our star family has been seen by Earth watchers to prevent nuclear missiles from operating and laser missiles in flight. These are the reasons Archangel Michael was able to state in 2013, there will be no more incidents of what you consider nuclear war, so no nuclear war for planet Earth. Looking back on Fukushima, Matthew Watt reminded, in quotes, nuclear power in the hands of third density population is pure madness, and nuclear weaponry is suicidal. On many occasions, members of the universal family have prevented catastrophic results in both areas. What a great day it will be when the people of Earth can thank their overwhelming family, whose help in countless ways has been invaluable. I want to express now in public my appreciation for outside help. I do not consider it so much a reminder of our insanity with weapons as the fact that our galactic family has abated planetary catastrophes on more than one occasion. We owe them our gratitude. So, there we have it. Humankind is prevented from destroying itself, as well as beings in other dimensions, by a watchful and capable star fleet above us in millions of ships cloaked in invisibility. All the talk of nuclear war, the launching of nuclear missiles, the clanging of nuclear swords is simply posturing. But that may not stop the White Hats and the Galactics from using the dark threat to their advantage, to enact martial law around the world, for example. Americas. Spanish citizenship made easier. The new grandchildren's law approved by Spain could facilitate Spanish citizenship for thousands of Spanish Americans, descendants of Spaniards exiled for political reasons. The law, known as the Law of Democratic Memory, allows a period of 2 years to complete the process. Threat to native plants in Latin America. Corn is a central element in Mexican culture. Not only it is the raw material for the production of tortillas, but its cultivation and domestication have been part of its culture and idiosyncrasy for thousands of years. Mexico is grateful for the OPEC Plus deal for keeping its crude oil production uncut. Mexico's Congress finally approved the extension until 2028 of the presence of the armed forces in the streets to carry out public security tasks, despite criticism from humanitarian organizations and opponents, who consider that the initiative will deepen the militarization of the country. Mexican cartels recruit chemistry teachers to create fentanyl, a very toxic drug. Israel is angry with Mexico for not defending its embassy during Ayotzinapa protest. Uruguay will dethrone Chile in 2024 as having the highest GDP per capita in South America. Argentina's inflation accumulates 83% in the last year. In Argentina, Peronism celebrates October 17th with its flags in crisis. The Argentine state acknowledges its responsibility for the bombing of the Jewish mutual AMIA in 1994. Ecuadorian authorities investigate explosion in front of police district headquarters. Peruvian authorities managed to extinguish forest fires that affected 705 hectares. A small plane crashes to the ground in the Peruvian Amazon, and its 12 occupants survive. Long road of the accusation against Pedro Castillo in the Peruvian Congress. Venezuelan justice system convicts 261 officials for human rights violations in 5 years. Guyana asks Facebook and Twitter to remove maps where Essequibo appears as part of Venezuela. Cholera in Haiti is almost a death sentence for children, says UNICEF. Breaking news. The Economist says as Europe falls into recession, Russia emerges from it. Borrell compares Europe to a garden and the rest of the world to the jungle. A British media outlet throws out a question. Will a letters of Liz Truss mandate grow first? Nearly half of the European countries increase imports of goods from Russia, in spite of political declarations. The US Treasury proposes to cap the price of Russian oil at $60 per barrel. Russia will not sell its crude oil at any price limit. The US oil reserve reaches its lowest level since June 1984. Elon Musk confirms that SpaceX can no longer fund Starlink terminals to Ukraine. Millionaires and adventurers prepare for the next space tourism. SpaceX is adding space tourists to travel on its next Starship spacecraft. The company is preparing a lunar expedition that will last about a week. Sweden refuses to investigate Nord Stream leaks with Denmark and Germany. In the event that Russian experts are denied access to ongoing investigations, Moscow will assume that the countries in question have something to hide, the Russian foreign minister said. NATO to deliver anti-drone equipment to Ukraine. Russia says 400 fighters of Ukraine's Azov regiment are in pre-trial detention centers. Iranian kamikaze drones strike Kiev region. The capital region of Ukraine was attacked by Iranian-made kamikaze drones early Thursday, and rescuers rushed to the area as residents awoke to the sound of anti-aircraft sirens for the fourth morning in a row. Part of the Russian city of Belgorod is without power after a fire at the thermoelectric power plant caused by shelling. The fire has been extinguished. Refugees from the conflict in Ukraine are beginning to pose a problem for Europe. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.